Thank you once again for all the support for the whole time you've been coming, and we hope to see you next when we start again cabinet next year. But with me today, at least to give you the feedback for the cabinet today, I have Minister Ziambe, Minister of Justice, and Minister Joram Gumbo, the one in charge of monitoring the projects of government, and of course the Chief Secretary, as he has already talked to you. Today, Cabinet considered and approved the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2019, which the Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs presented as Chairman of the Cabinet Committee on Legislation. Some of the salient amendments to be effected will include the following: provision under Section 94 of subsection 2 to allow the President-elect, as soon as he assumes office, to appoint 2 persons to be Vice Presidents who shall take their oath of office before the Chief Justice or the next senior judge available as set out in the 3rd schedule. And B, setting out in Section 95 the conditions under which a Vice President will vacate office, which include resignation and removal by the President. Then C, inclusion under Section 180 of a subsection allowing the President, upon recommendation of the Judicial Service Commission, to appoint a sitting judge to be judge of a higher court wherever a vacancy at such a court arises, without the need for interviews, because they will be sitting judges already. Then that also the Chief Justice, the Deputy Chief Justice, and judges of the Supreme and Constitutional Courts will hold office until they reach the age of 70 years, and thereafter may have their contracts renewed annually upon production of a medical fitness certificate for a period not exceeding 5 years. The other amendment, insertion of a new section in the Constitution after Section 204 to include the appointment of Chief Secretary to the President and Cabinet and his or her deputies by the President, in consultation with the Civil Service Commission, whose terms and conditions of service shall be as fixed by the President. Then also amendment on the appointment of the Public Protector and Deputy Public Protector by the President after consultation with the Judicial Service Commission and the Committee on Standing Rules and Orders. Another amendment will be done on Section 161 to remove reference of holding delimitation after a population census. Also, appointment of Prosecutor General by the President with consultation with the Judicial Service Commission. There is also an amendment on Section 268 of the Constitution by removing members of Parliament and senators from being members of the Provincial Council because they have oversight mandate over provincial councils. Then also amending Section 199 and remove where it makes reference to civil service and substitute with public service. That was the report given by Minister Ziambe. Then there is a report which was given by Minister Joram Gumbo, Minister of State for Presidential Affairs and Monitoring Implementation of Government Programs. Cabinet noted achievements realized in the implementation of the 3rd 100-day cycle projects as he presented, Minister Gumbo. A total of 98 projects were implemented by 19 ministries. Projects that were not completed will be rolled over to the next cycle. Some of the projects that were completed are as follows: infrastructure and utilities pillar, 6,384 prepaid electricity meters were installed countrywide. Second project, which was completed under infrastructure and utilities pillar, 42 institutions, schools, clinics and service centers and homesteads were electrified in the rural provinces. 5 base stations were installed and commissioned in Bedbridge, Mutare, Bindura, Binga and Nyanga. And the other projects which were completed: Pembi Bridge in Mvurwi, was widened and road approaches constructed on either side of the bridge to reduce traffic congestions. And construction of an industrial park commenced at the Chinhoyi University of Technology under the infrastructure. And under social development pillar, a total of 453 metric tons of maize, 5 metric tons of beans, 23 metric tons of cowpeas, and 1.9 metric tons of sorghum were harvested at prisons and correctional services farms countrywide, meaning that the prisoners can actually feed themselves. A total of 403,756 school children were assisted under the BIM, Basic Education Assistance module. Then under the inclusive growth pillar, a total of 10 million tree seedlings were produced and planted in Chinhoyi, Mashonaland West Province. The project will provide wood for tobacco curing. Then another project, 5 million doses of Newcastle disease vaccines were produced. 1,500 samples from the Karo Platinum Resources Venture in Mondorongezi were sent to Australia for quality checks. 500 were successfully analyzed and returned. And last on that pillar, 8 projects under the Geospatial Aeronautical and Space Science Capability for Zimbabwe were completed. Under governance pillar, the e-recruitment system for student nurses has been operationalized at the Ministry of Health and Childcare. And also 14 cases of corruption were finalized, out of which there were 8 convictions and 6 acquittals. And under macroeconomic stability and financial re-engagement, RTGS 3.49 billion was mobilized through various taxes, surpassing the target by 44%. Cabinet also received a report and update on the fuel supply situation in the country. The Minister of Energy and Power Development updated Cabinet on the fuel supply situation. Cabinet assures the nation that necessary steps are being taken to ensure that the fuel situation is normalized during the festive season and beyond. Indigenous oil companies will be issued with letters of credit to enable them to complement government in satisfying the market. I thank you for listening. Thank you.
We give time to members of the media to pose questions or further explanation on the issues just tabulated. As usual, I call on the first session for questions. Thereafter, we'll see how we proceed.
Columbus Mafunga, VOA TV. Minister, we are coming to the end. Being a Christian nation generally, people are supposed to be in the festive mood. Do you think there is enough that has been done over the past 12 months to ensure that there is real Christmas?
Yes, we are a Christian country, and I'm sure we are all excited about Christmas. And what we have just been talking about here are the projects which government have done and efforts of which government have taken in terms of coming up. We know we've gone through very difficult times as a nation, but government has been working very flat out to make sure that we put safety nets, especially for our poorest. We've seen actually prices of milli coming down. We've seen prices, the government doing everything possible to make sure that at least our people can have a good Christmas. The Minister of Finance managed to pay out the 13th salary, a check, which is something which will go a very long way to just make sure that at least families manage to enjoy Christmas. Otherwise, what government wants is to see their people happy, and government is leaving no stone unturned until we achieve the Vision 2030. Merry Christmas.
Okay.
I just wanted to say there's something quite exciting which Chief Secretary on the amendments.
Please.
The minister can always expand on it, but there's another amendment which had been left out on section 92, which is going to repeal the principle of running mates, such that the president and vice president will no longer be directly elected jointly. So that is something I just wanted to, and also I wanted to tell the extension, which is quite exciting. for the women of this country who, when they ask for gender parity, they are not asking for favors. We are happy that there is going to be an amendment to extend the 60 seats which were set aside, the quota, which is in the National Assembly. So the clause which is going to be amended is section 124 of the Constitution, and this relates to the composition of the National Assembly by deleting the phrase, so there will be first 4 parliaments, because it's being extended by another two terms. So this is the provision which was enacted with a view, obviously, to increase women participation in Parliament. So I feel that was very, very important. And also, there will be another 10 youth in realization that we need to bring our youth on board to make sure that they carry over the legacy. There will be another amendment in inclusion of 10 youth, 1 from each of the 10 provinces of Zimbabwe. And these will be elected on party lists on proportional representation based on the votes cast for candidates representing political parties in a general election for constituency members in that particular province. I just felt that was very important to give to you. Minister Ziyambi is here for those who are interested to ask any questions on it. Personally, I really want to thank you all for the support, and I think we've had a very good year together. Let's continue working together closely. And as we say, our Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services is open for you anytime. Merry Christmas.